Matthew said, why don't we start with some Q&A? We welcome you to send in questions live via chat to us here. And once again, Matthew, he is an official representative of the City of Ottawa, the Economic Development Department, and is therefore, a representative of the city and would be fitting gentleman to answer the questions you have. The best of his abilities and ours. We're also, headquartered in Ottawa as well, In-TAC, the International Center. So let's jump around a little bit. The first question here, someone would like you to elaborate a little bit more about property prices. The person says, Matthew, please talk about property prices. Ottawa property price has increased so fast recently.
Yes, no, definitely. Ottawa's been, it's almost like we've been, recently discovered or something like that. The growth is tremendous, particularly in the west end of the city. It's interesting. Last year, the condo market was a little bit softer. This year, it's going gangbusters. Not entirely sure exactly where that's coming from. I think the Canadian Real Estate Association, CREA, would be a good resource for folks looking to get a much deeper dive into the specifics on supply and what's been happening in Toronto and Vancouver in terms of the extreme elevation of prices, some regulatory burdens coming in to make it more difficult to purchase homes from outside the country. That may be driving some of the growth in Ottawa. I also think, frankly, it's the job landscape. It's tremendous. And I think that you're starting to see, particularly in residential areas that border some of our hot tech sector, you're starting to see those prices catch up to the reality of the compensation levels in Ottawa. I don't know if there's anything further I could add to that, but I guess I'll just do another plug for the Canadian Real Estate Association. Again, they would be the specialists if you're looking to really kind of break down city by city where the latest movements and trends are. I would Google them and check out their site.
Well said. Yeah, I believe it's www.crea.com.
That's right. I think
so. Yeah. It's a pretty concise website, and
I guess I would say even with the run up in prices, we remain among the most affordable cities of the major sort of 1 million plus population category. Certainly still more affordable than Toronto, more affordable than Vancouver. I'm not sure where Montreal stands. Montreal has also been experiencing some tremendous value uplift in their real estate market. I haven't seen the latest information on that, but again, that's something that a CREA would be able to provide you with more details on.
Thank you, Matthew. So moving on, we have a comment and not a question. Someone says, quote, very good and clear presentation.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you very nice comment from a gentleman. So let's move on to the next question about employment. Is Ottawa open to customer service officers and managers? I have 5+ years experience in customer service in banking. Is Ottawa open to customer service? There are these types of customer service, financial customer service roles in Ottawa, in your opinion?
Certainly, yes, I think so. And I mean, you mentioned the example of your background coming from the banking sector. So, the financial capital in Canada really is Toronto. The largest offices are based in Toronto. That being said, there is still a substantial footprint in Ottawa because of the fact it's the nation's capital and the federal government has the regulatory oversight of the Canadian banks, again, here in Ottawa. So you'll see a bit of a larger presence than you might otherwise see in cities of our size for the major banks. And so I think, there's an opportunity there through the banking sector in Ottawa that's probably outside of Toronto is a bit unique compared to other mid-sized cities. I also think that even the City of Ottawa as an employer itself, we're constantly growing and innovating in the department that we would call Service Ottawa. The municipality is a tremendously forward-facing organization. We deliver your water. We get rid of your wastewater. We pick up your solid waste. We process that solid waste. We deliver your public transportation. We maintain and deliver your new road network. We are the sole share, although the public sector, the power utility is a separate organization from the government proper. The City of Ottawa is the sole shareholder of Hydro Ottawa. So we're a bit of an arm's length connected to the provision of your electrical power. there is a tremendous amount of forward-facing, service-oriented work that the City of Ottawa does. We're constantly looking for talented, experienced individuals who can operate in that environment and improve the way we engage with our citizens, particularly as the city continues to grow at such a rapid pace. And frankly, we're also interested in dealing with technology, people who are familiar with the high-tech sector. We're doing tremendous strides in terms of our open data program, digitizing as much of the data as the City of Ottawa collects and opening that up to the community for free, making it accessible to folks not only that are extremely technically skilled, but also folks that are, I like to say, technologically literate, to be able to work with that data. We have a number of community-driven apps that are free to use, that have been built by the community, not by the city, done in partnership with us as we provide them the data that they need. So we're constantly seeking to foster an environment where we're not only encouraging these entrepreneurs in developing products and companies, but we're also seeking to leverage them to improve our service offering. So maybe I'll leave it at that. This is two examples.
And I would, on a more micro level, in terms of the In-TAC VCE, whether today or tomorrow, the person that asked that question about customer service roles, TD Bank, TD Canada Trust, their booth, as well as Rogers Communications, both those employers employ hundreds of customer service representatives here in Ottawa, in the east end of Ottawa. And TD Bank was just at our In-TAC offices a few weeks ago looking for customer service representatives, particularly that spoke Mandarin and Cantonese. But that's just an example of they're always looking for people just like you, sir or madam, that ask that question. People that have a customer service, tenured history within the financial services or banking industry. Yes, I would suggest you peruse the TD booth, or perhaps have transferable skills to a telecom company like Rogers Communications. And even if you're not able to engage with one of the reps in the booth, doesn't mean you can't apply for one of the jobs, the customer service jobs. At the end of the day, if you apply for the job through the link, they'll have your resume. Let's continue on, Matthew. Someone wants to know more about IT. I want to know the area of IT that is mostly needed by companies in Ottawa. I think that's tough to answer because there's a lot of demand.
A lot of demand.
Yeah.
We were chatting with a company, I think, that was looking for, I can't remember what it was. Was it quantum computing? What was it? When I first came here, they were looking for...
Yeah.
There's so many. There's a tremendous number of specializations. I think, as I mentioned earlier, ICT, information communications technology, is probably our leading sector right now. But again, we have well over 100 companies in health tech, aerospace. If I had to, I guess if you really wanted to dig into it, and who would have the best sense of what the specific companies are looking for and the most up-to-date information, I'm just going to go back a slide. I don't know if you can still see the slides on your screen.
Yeah, they can. Yeah.
But I would refer you back to Invest Ottawa. They have a sort of a citywide focus. They're currently engaged in partnerships with the post-secondary institutions to secure talent, train talent, retain talent coming out of our universities. They're also doing pilots and experiments with our local hospitals in terms of health tech and bringing more and more technology into the way we deliver healthcare. So they have a bit of a citywide perspective and can talk to you a bit about what their kind of member companies are saying that they're looking for. And again, Canada North BIA, I can't say enough about them. They're Canada's largest technology park. They have a full-time staff dedicated strictly to catering to the needs of the 1,400 odd companies, 1,700 companies that make up their membership in their geographic zone. So they could get into much more detail. And I also believe there may be a portal where you can see job postings for a variety of different companies within their membership base. So you don't have to go to each individual company to look at their job postings. It's a bit of more of a one-stop shop. So again, can't say enough about our partners at Invest Ottawa and the Canada North BIA. They do tremendous work. It's a huge ecosystem to keep track of, and I really would recommend that you engage with them directly. I think you'll find them very helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. I mean, one of the next questions, which you don't really need to answer because you did address early at the Tech Park and KNBIA, but this person was particularly keen on the technology part because you know they're aware of that, and that's why we're here today. And their follow-up, it would be great if you could address the follow-up to the first question was, this person is interested in some of the PhD programs that we would have at our higher education institutions that would complement someone like him that is, already a mid-level technical professional and absolutely have a career here.
Absolutely. Well, we have in Ottawa, it's an initiative called Education City. And what that is designed to do is almost bring all our post-secondaries in a collaborative way. So rather than, Carleton competes with the University of Ottawa, competes with Algonquin, et cetera, each one has their area of focus, and students can move seamlessly from each institution to achieve this certification in their work area. And what we've tried to do is make that as seamless a process between those institutions, and also now seeking to take that to the next level and plug that into the private sector directly to smooth that transition from your period of education into your period of employment. So, in a case like what you mentioned, where you're already a mid-level professional, you're looking to increase your knowledge level through the pursuit of higher education, whether that's a master's or a PhD level. You'd probably be looking at either Carleton or the University of Ottawa. I'm a graduate of Carleton, so I know they have a tremendous engineering program. We've actually done some partnerships with some PhD candidates seeking federal government funding for their studies, where we've provided them with endorsements of some of the work that we're doing. For some of their projects, they partner with the city. We're doing things to research how we can better track infrastructure maintenance and management, using technology to monitor our hardware, and things like drinking water pipes and others, using remote technologies rather than manual checks, which is what we've been doing up until now, and other cities are still doing. So I guess in terms of the process itself, you're best to reach out to Carleton and the University of Ottawa directly. What I can say is that we're constantly seeking ways of the city to act as a connector between the private sector and the post-secondary institutions. We bring groups together, or we call them our economic development stakeholders, 2 to 3 times a year to look at kind of strategic systemic issues and help kind of guide the work plans at the working level to better grow that collaboration.
Great. Thank you, Matthew. Moving on. Next question. I have over 7 years of sales and marketing experience in multinational wine and spirit industry.
Nice.
And me too. And my job is basically to make people happier. My wife is in medical laboratory. She's a medical laboratory technologist. So I remember earlier you were talking about our healthcare and health sciences. So his question is, that's my profile, that's my wife's profile.
Yep.
Do you think Ottawa would be a good place for us to start our lives in Canada?
Absolutely. I can't say enough about it. I mean, I'll start with the medical field. Ottawa has CHEO, Children's Health Hospital of Eastern Ontario, is probably the foremost pediatrics hospital for young children. We have a tremendous cancer program dealing with children who are struggling with cancer. It is world-renowned. We have a tremendous Ottawa Heart Institute is one of the best, again, in the country. We fly people in who are experiencing acute cardiac issues, are flown to Ottawa to ensure that they receive the best care. So we have a tremendous hospital sector with a very high job satisfaction rate for people that work in that sector. And also, I think Ottawa is going to, if you you don't mind, I'll brag here just for a little bit. I think we've done a particularly good job. And the praise again goes to our executive leadership of the hospitals, but also the executive leadership in our technology companies, looking for ways creatively to work together to innovate, to integrate what we're doing and tackle the challenges that hospitals are facing. How can we deliver better care? How can we deliver care more efficiently in a more cost-effective manner? So I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for technologists in the Medicare field. We do a tremendous amount of research. I think I mentioned that earlier, talking about the lab environment, hundreds of millions of dollars from the federal government, from the provincial government, from the private sector in research opportunities here in Ottawa. And maybe if I could just go back to the question, the gentleman was saying his work background was in
wine and spirits,
multinational wine and spirits. So we have, I'm not sure if it counts as a spirit, we have a tremendous brew pub association, and more brew pubs coming online. So there's an opportunity to engage on that side of the business. Eastern Ontario is a growing wine destination, vineyards. More and more vineyards are coming online. And again, in spirits, talk about innovation. We have a company, I don't want to go on too long, but I'll give you one example. Ottawa has a tremendous agricultural portion of our economy. Again, 80% of our land mass is rural. So we're constantly looking for ways to innovate in the agricultural sector. We're looking for ways to have smart agricultural sensors. We're looking at autonomous agricultural vehicles. We're looking at things like, talking about spirits, in Ottawa, the dairy industry, as they process raw milk to what they would sell in stores, the byproduct right now, there's a sugary byproduct that they currently have to pay to extract it, and they have to pay to have it disposed of. They had not found a commercial use for it. And someone working in the spirits industry came along and realized that they could process that into a distilled form of vodka. And so now you have a local startup just outside the City of Ottawa limits, but still in our region, I think it's called Vodcow. And they have taken this byproduct that was a cost for our agricultural sector to have to deal with, and they've managed to monetize it, turn it into a spirit that they now sell. And so they're making money doing this. They're growing a business doing this, catering to a community need and people that are interested in trying it. And they've actually turned it now into for them, distillers industry. Just one example of an innovative approach to the challenges that the modern the economy is facing as we modernize, and one that I think might be particularly relevant for you given your experience in the wine and spirits industry.
Thank you, Matthew. The comment, and I will read it, and I will, if you don't mind, address it as well. I have 10 years experience in the IT field between development, analysis, and solution architecture. I believe Ottawa will be a great place for me. Hopefully there's an option to immigrate there with a job offer, potentially a nomination, as this person is Express Entry. We hope and we believe that Ottawa is a great place for you. As Matthew said, Ottawa is the largest IT sort of cluster in Canada, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, 1,700 plus companies. Yeah. And I wanted to sort of step in on behalf of a partner to the City of Ottawa, because in the In-TAC BCE, in the floor, not in the Discover Canada auditorium, which we were doing now, but in the floor, a lot of those companies have operations in Ottawa or are in Ottawa, literally, and I'm going to say a few of them. So Tech Insights, one of the main sponsors of the In-TAC National Virtual Career Expo, they're a great company, hundreds of people, global offices, cutting edge technology, been around for 30, 35, 40 years, 30 plus approximately. I mean, they're looking for skilled workers, engineers, full stack developers. I suggest that you go to their booth. Matthew said, some of the origins of sort of the telecom. And we're not going to get into that because Matthew, Nortel and all this. But and someone, here, they said, I noticed now that you have a lot of the multinationals, like the Nokia, Ericsson, Huawei.
Yeah.
Matthew can sort of maybe explain why, but a lot of those companies, even In-TAC, we work with them as well. They are participating in the VCE. Some of the networking, like Elastilink, Infinera, Sienna is not participating. We know they're just here last week. Lixar, CypherCore, IBM, some of the IT security, Red Canary, the Jack and Jill of all trades, Grade A, ZenNation. A lot of these companies have booths that have jobs for you to apply in the In-TAC VCE, and definitely the Canada North CIA website as well.
Yep.
And why don't you just explain why? A lot of the R&D shops of the Huawei, Ericsson, Sienna, and Finera, they're all here in Ottawa. They're not in Toronto. They're not in Vancouver. Usually, why there's that telecom origin story that people might not know. You can give the 60-second reason
Absolutely.
for that.
And essentially, Ottawa, Nortel Net, 90% of the research and development dollars invested in information communications technology invested in Ottawa, and this. So what we're looking at here is this nexus of a workforce that it just made sense for more and more companies to come here. In the .com bust, Nortel unfortunately went under, but we've seen, rather than losing all that talent, it's essentially fragmented the landscape, and we had a number of medium-sized companies over the following decade rose up to together kind of fill that void. And I think in the long run, it's actually been a little bit better for us in the sense that we're not vulnerable to kind of a single large company meltdown. We have a more diverse ecosystem, and I think that's then in turn attracted back the big multinationals when they look at it and say, we have over 75,000 highly skilled employees located right here in this city of 1 million people total. So I'd have to look at the number for what it is over the workforce, but 7.5% of our total population works in ICT here in Ottawa. So it's a tremendous concentration. It's a tremendous opportunity for them to plug into the talent pool, and I think that's what's attractive to a number of these companies.
Absolutely, and once again, a number of these companies are participating in the In-TAC VCE. So I would encourage you to go to their booths and apply to roles as much as you can. And if you are not able to access the floor today, you can do so tomorrow. And once again, I would urge you to apply. A lot of the companies that I mentioned and that Matthew mentioned, whether they're telecoms, enterprise software, a lot of them can be found in the In-TAC National Virtual Career Expo. And sorry we could not address everyone's questions, but we really got through a lot of them. And because we are headquartered in Ottawa, this is the nation's capital, as Matthew said. If Matthew Easton wasn't able to answer all of your questions, a lot of the In-TAC representatives that you would see in the fair online, they would be able to answer and address a lot of your Ottawa IT-oriented questions, as we are headquartered in Ottawa. We're a national organization, but we're here. We're all here together, so we encourage you to participate. The resources are here, shared with you by the City of Ottawa and Matthew Easton, and we'd just like to give Matthew the final words before we are joined by the City of London, Ontario, the London Economic Development Commission at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's in about 13-14 minutes, but now we'll let Matthew Easton say the final words on behalf of Ottawa.
London, also a beautiful city. My wife worked there for almost a year. So very nice place. But back to Ottawa, I guess I would say, how can I sum it up? It's a beautiful city. I chose to live here. My wife chose to live here. We came from other Canadian cities, and we fell in love within a few years of arriving. There's a tremendous amount of Canadian history here. There's a tremendously diverse community here. It doesn't matter where you come from, you will feel welcome in Ottawa. And I'll just say, we're growing. We're winning. We can barely keep up. More and more companies are coming online. This has been it's almost challenging to keep the machine moving, to keep it growing. This is not somewhere where you're going to struggle to find things to do. We're struggling to find enough people to do all the things we need to have happen. So if you want to grow, if you want to live in a beautiful city, if you want to be part of a growing winning team, I hope you consider that.